Unit 1, Module 5, Step 1. Now that you've listened to two dialogues in Spanish, it's time to take a closer look at the language itself. Let's start with some good news. A lot of Spanish words are almost exactly the same as English words, and you don't have to be a genius to figure out what they mean.
Televisión, información o aeropuerto.
And here's some more good news. If you followed the dialogues on screen while Julia, Paco, Lisa, and Martin were speaking, you will have noticed that what you heard was not too different to what you saw. In fact, once you've learnt a few simple rules about how to pronounce letters and where to place the stress in words, you will find that you can read Spanish quite easily.
In the first dialogue, Paco began by saying, Hola Lisa, hola Martin. Hello Lisa, hello Martin.
The first thing you'll notice is that although you see an H in hola, you don't pronounce it. Listen.
Hola. You might well have heard some common Spanish phrases such as hasta luego, see you later, or hasta mañana, see you tomorrow. There too, you have examples of the silent H. Listen. Hasta luego, see you later, or literally until later. Hasta mañana, see you tomorrow, or literally until tomorrow. Next, you heard Paco say, Bienvenidos a Málaga. This means, welcome to Málaga.
This short sentence contains almost everything you'll need to know about where to put the stress in Spanish words. And, as in English, the spoken stress is in Spanish very important.
Listen to these words from the dialogue. Bienvenidos, welcome. Vuelo, flight. Me alegro, I'm delighted, or I'm pleased.
All these words are stressed on the penultimate syllable. In other words, the second to last syllable. As you progress through the units, you'll soon see that the words that end in a vowel, A, E, I, O, or U, and words that end in N or S, are stressed on the second to last syllable.
Bienvenidos, vuelo, mañana.
However, listen to this. The airport where Lisa and Martin arrived is Málaga. Málaga. Quite clearly, the stress here is on the first syllable. If you look at the word Málaga, you'll notice that there is a little accent on the first syllable. This accent tells you that the word is an exception to the rule. Instead of stressing the penultimate syllable, you put the stress on the first syllable.
Now listen to the whole line again, paying attention to the stress. Bienvenidos a Málaga. Welcome to Málaga. The reply to this was gracias. Thank you. In this word, the letter C is pronounced like the English th. Listen again and practice saying it yourself. Gracias. Perhaps you've heard these words before too. Barcelona, Barcelona. Cerveza, beer. Policía, police. Centro, center. Listen again and practice saying these words yourself. Gracias, Barcelona, cerveza, policía, centro.
Let's look at the question of word stress again here. Because these words end in an S, A, or an O, the stress is placed on the penultimate syllable.
However, you might say, gracias and centro have the stress on the first syllable.
That is true. But there are only two syllables in these words, so this means the first syllable is also the penultimate syllable.
Next, Paco asked the question, ¿Cómo estáis? How are you?
The first word of this question illustrates two important features of written Spanish. Firstly, you'll have noticed the upside-down question mark. The Spanish like to indicate exactly when a question is about to begin, so they signpost it with an upside-down question mark. In fact, questions in Spanish are always sandwiched between two question marks, the first of which must be upside down.
Secondly, you'll have noticed the accent over the O of como.
You might ask yourself, why has the accent been placed over the syllable which is naturally stressed anyway? Its purpose is to differentiate it from another word in Spanish that looks and sounds the same but has no accent.
Como with an accent means how, as a question word. Pronounced exactly the same, but written without the accent, the word como means as, or oddly enough, I eat. So, if you want the question word, you need the accent. Como.
Now that you know a little more about this question, try pronouncing it as Paco does with the O, like the O in the English word pot.
¿Cómo estáis? How are you? ¿Cómo estáis?
It's best to get used to this O early on because it's always pronounced this way. When you say, how are you, in English, you could be talking to one person or to a group of people. It is really rather vague. Spanish, however, has various different forms for you, depending on who you are addressing.
We'll look at this in more depth later, but in this case, the word estáis tells us that the question is aimed at a number of people who could be considered friends. When Paco says, ¿Cómo estáis?, he is asking, how are you, Lisa and Martin? Lisa's answer to this question was, muy bien, gracias. Very well, thanks. Paco then went on to ask, ¿Qué tal el vuelo? How was your flight? Or literally, how goes the flight? ¿Qué tal el vuelo? Lisa replied, bien, which, as you already know, means well, or here, fine. ¿Qué tal el vuelo? Bien. Notice that the e in que is pronounced as in the English word get. The k sounds like the k in English, can or cost. The u is not pronounced at all. Listen to it again and try to say as you hear it. ¿Qué tal el vuelo? If you knock off el vuelo, you are left with ¿qué tal? Two very handy words indeed. Used on their own, they mean the same as ¿Cómo estáis? How are you? ¿Qué tal? How are you? But if you pop the two words ¿qué tal? In front of other words, you can make all sorts of questions. For example, ¿qué tal el café? How's the coffee? Or ¿qué tal tu marido? How's your husband? Paco winds up the conversation with the comment, Me alegro de veros otra vez. I am delighted or pleased to see you again. Here you'll notice two important pronunciation points. Listen. Veros, vez. The V in veros and vez is pronounced like a B. Veros, vez. And secondly, the Z in vez is pronounced like the C in gracias and centro. Listen to the sentence again and practice these B and th sounds, making sure you put the stress on the penultimate syllable as indicated. Me alegro de veros otra vez.